Hi everyone, it's Anna here from Journeys. Today's question for AAA, Ask Anna Anything. I'm going to read you the question that the person sent in. They say, I've lost 5 close older relatives and 2 girlfriends around the age of about 50 in the last 4 years. I feel like I'm still grieving a lot and feel super sensitive when I hear of other deaths. Will this feeling of loss ever go away? Firstly, I want to say you have experienced a lot in a very short period of time. A lot of us, when we experience grief, whether it's the loss of a loved one or some other form of grief, we have time to kind of process through that with before, I guess, the next loss comes along. So for you, you've experienced a lot of loss in a very short period of time. So I want to acknowledge that for you and let you know that it's a lot, that you are going through a lot of loss. And with that comes a lot of questions and processing, and there's a lot of relationships that have shifted because of the loss of these loved ones. So your question is, will this feeling of loss ever go away? Number one, it's normal to feel this loss and to feel the loss very strongly. As I've said in other videos, everyone experiences grief differently, and the feelings of the loss are very different for every single person. So in my experience of grief, I find that the intensity of the grief comes in ebbs and flows. Right at the beginning, obviously there's a strong intensity. You're trying to make sense of everything, trying to still put one foot in front of the other. If you are in a situation where you need to be making decisions, then that has to be happening. And so there's just a lot of intensity that comes with that. And then the wave of grief, of sadness comes over you as well. As time goes on, and that time is different for everyone, it could be maybe what I think is a short period of time is actually a long period of time for someone. And so the other thing about grief though is, as I said with ebbs and flows, is I could be swept up by something about a loss that I experienced many years ago, and it can stop me in my tracks. And so that, it could be years gone past, but I still feel that intensity at any given time really strongly. So I think this is the complexity of grief that, again, we don't talk about much in our society because it's confusing, because there's no 5-step process and you'll be fine, and you can't move through those steps really quickly or whatever. It's just different for everyone, and I know that feels messy and it doesn't feel very reassuring, but I think the reassurance in that is that whatever you're experiencing is okay. I want to share with you something that someone shared with me many years ago, and it's always stuck with me. I'm not sure if you can, I've kind of drawn a little picture here. One where the grief, so you can see that says grief. So the middle circle is grief, and then the outside circle is what life is depicting life. And so when we first experience the grief, it feels very big. It takes up a lot of our life, a lot of our space, a lot of our thoughts and emotions. As time goes on, the grief doesn't change in size, but life does. Oh, you can't really see that, sorry. And so life, the theory around that is that the grief doesn't change. The grief is still the same intensity or the same sadness, the same loss, but life gets bigger. And we begin to be able to work through a process of learning to accept, what does life look like now without this loved one in my life, or without the situation that we thought we would be in but we're not in. So I hope that's helpful for you. I just also really want to encourage you to seek support. You don't have to go through this on your own, and grief, you've experienced a lot of grief in a short space of time. So honouring that, talking about it, having a safe space to be able to process will be really important for your growth and healing. So that could be a counsellor, a caring friend, whoever. I just really encourage you to seek that support. Hope that's been helpful.